from Academy of Yoga and Ayurveda, where we have our 200, 300 and our 40-hour training in Ayurveda, 200, 300 hour yoga teacher training, 40-hour training in Ayurveda, and our 100-hour bridging course. Today, we're going to be exploring the concepts of doshas and subdoshas. Again, we're hanging out with my friend, Dr. Vasant Lad, and we're going to be seeing what he has to say about doshas and subdoshas. What I want you to take a moment, think about for a moment. We've got that going. Mic's on. There we go. You should be able to hear me better. What I want you to think of for a moment is, if you close your eyes and if you were to do just 5 minutes of kind of like yoga, Ayurveda, education every single day in 12 months, how much more knowledge would you have garnered and gathered, especially if you can implement the information in bite-sized chunks throughout that day? So just have a think about that. Notice that kind of like listening into this for 5 minutes is probably going to be really beneficial to you and your family and your students. So let's get straight to it. When it comes to the doshas, remember, just like a quick recap, we've got Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Vata is a combination of air and ether. Pitta is a combination of fire and a little bit of water. And Kapha is a combination of earth and water. So with these three doshas, these 5 elements, each of these 3 doshas now have a subdosha. And they each have 5 subdoshas. So we're going to delve into that a little today. And we'll start with Vata and the Vata subdoshas. So remember that Vata, the attributes of Vata are dry, light, cold, rough, subtle, mobile, clear, and there's also that astringent. I'm going to grab a little throat clearer. There we go. That's much better. And remember that prana, that life force within us, is what is able to manifest in in different forms of vata in the body. So vata is present through the body, throughout the body, and is predominant in, and these are the locations of vata, like the head and the throat, the diaphragm and the small intestines, the belly button, the whole pelvic girdle, your bones, your thighs. Okay, so again, your upper leg, your thighs, your colon, and the heart. It has affinity and concentrates in these sites. So if you have already an issue in any of these areas, you already know that there probably is a little bit of a vata imbalance in that area. If you have like that, those areas are really strong and grounded and healthy, then you know that you have a very probably balanced vata in that area. So these little sites, these little areas can give you an indication as to where there could possibly be a little bit of an imbalance for you at the moment. The normal functions of vata in the body are movement, respiration, and ingestion of food and water, because without ingestion, you can't actually digest. So that taking in, that movement of bringing food into you, the ingesting of the food, that movement is vata, is governed by vata. All right, let's move on to the kind of like the 5 subtypes of vata. So we have prana, which is kind of like ether, and that is situated kind of like in the head and the throat region, or the head and the brain region, I mean, in us. And the direction and the movement of that is kind of like the prana is going in and it's also going down. So just thinking of that, like if there is something with the head or the brain, there might be an issue with the prana or the air flowing in and down. It might just be coming in. There might not be much happening, but just having a think about that. Then Udana, and Udana is kind of like the governed by the air element, okay, and it moves upwards. So it's from like the diaphragm and the lungs. It's got this like upward and outward movement. So that is what Udana is. It's got like this upward movement, kind of. So if you're thinking of like burping or a little bit of heartburn, like this up, like where it feels like there's an upward movement, that is Udana. That is governed kind of like by the air. It's like when we express, when we exhale, that is all Udana. Then Samana, which is kind of governed by the fire element, which you can imagine, which is kind of like the small intestine region. the region of the navel, and it has very much this like linear movement. So if you find that you have an issue with the small intestines, that is often an issue with Samana Vayu. All right, then we've got Apana, and this is very much kind of like the earth quality. It's located kind of like the colon, the pelvic cavity, that area. And Apana, if you know, like from yoga, from your yoga practice, you've got Apanasana, which is this like downward moving. So it's kind of like the down and out. It's the elimination. So it's where things go down and out. And it's kind of like, again, that kind of movement when we're going to the toilet first thing in the morning, when we've got our menses, when we've got our flow, when we're giving birth, it's all this down and out. And if you have any issues in the colon, then you know that you probably have an issue with the airflow, the vayu in that space. And then the final subtype of Vata is Vyana, which is governed by the water element. And this is definitely kind of like focusing on the heart. It's got like this all pervading. It's kind of like the circulation. Your heart is what pumps. And so it has this like circular motion through you. So if there's an issue with the heart or circulation, that is often where you have an issue with Vyanu Vayu, the circulatory system. And so this is how you can slowly start to see how Vata isn't just air and ether, but actually it can get stuck or over movement in certain areas and cause an imbalance in that. And these are kind of like the 5 main subcategories when it comes to Vata. We'll be delving a lot more into these. We'll be delving a lot more into the functions of Vata, as well as the subdoshas as we go in the next couple of lessons. So make sure that you are subscribed, you're listened in. Again, let me know in the comments what you learned, what you're going to take away with. What is it that you've realized about yourself? Where would your imbalance be? Is it that you're realizing, okay, you know what, I actually have an issue with digestion. So maybe there's an issue with Samana Vayu. Maybe you've got a problem with elimination, like you're not eliminating well. So it's that downward energy. Maybe you've got something stuck there. So again, let me know in the comments what was the most insightful for you. And we'll be back tomorrow shortly with the functions of Vata. Have a beautiful day, and I'll catch you soon. Lots of love. Bye. Let's end the screen.